Traffic stops were the worst part of night patrol. 2:47 in the morning, highway empty except for scattered semis and this Aston Martin doing 90 in a 65. I hit the lights, watched the sleek black car slow and pull onto the shoulder with the kind of precision that told me the driver wasn't drunk, just reckless. I approached the vehicle, hand instinctively near my service weapon. Standard procedure. 3 years on the force taught me that nothing about a traffic stop was ever truly standard. The window rolled down before I reached it. A man sat behind the wheel, and my first thought was that he looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. Dark hair, perfectly styled even at this ungodly hour. Sharp jawline. Suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. His hands rested on the steering wheel. Visible. Relaxed. Evening officer. His voice was smooth, accent barely there but definitely Italian somewhere in his lineage. I assume you clocked me doing 88. 90, I corrected, pulling out my citation book. License and registration. He reached for the glove compartment with deliberate slowness, movements calculated to show he wasn't a threat. That alone set off alarm bells. Normal people fumbled, got nervous, made excuses. This man acted like getting pulled over was a minor inconvenience. I don't have either on me, he said, still wearing that slight smile. Cars registered to my company, left my wallet at the office. I studied him more carefully. Mid-30s maybe, eyes an unusual shade of brown that caught the beam of my flashlight. A thin scar cut through his right eyebrow, barely visible unless you were looking for it. Step out of the vehicle, sir. He complied without argument, unfolding from the driver's seat to reveal he was tall, at least 6'2" or 6'3". The suit fit him like it was made specifically for his frame. Because it probably was. Name? I asked, running through the standard questions while my partner Jenkins ran the plates from our cruiser. Luca Ricchetti. Something about the way he said it made me pause. Like he expected me to recognize it. I didn't. You know why I stopped you, Mr. Ricchetti? I have several theories, he said. And there was amusement in his tone that irritated me. But I suspect excessive velocity is the official reason. Jenkins appeared beside me, slightly out of breath. Vehicles registered to Ricchetti Imports. Everything checks out. No license, no registration on his person, I told Jenkins. We're bringing him in for processing. For the first time, Ricchetti's expression shifted. Not to concern, but something closer to interest. Is that really necessary? I can have my assistant bring the documents to the station within the hour. Turn around, hands behind your back. He did, still wearing that infuriating half-smile. As I secured the handcuffs, he leaned slightly closer, voice dropping to barely above a whisper but still audible. I want you to be mine. My hands froze for a second. Excuse me? You heard me, Officer Morgan. His eyes had dropped to my nameplate. I want you to be mine. Heat rushed to my face, equal parts anger and something I refused to name. You're under arrest for driving without proper documentation and reckless driving. You have the right to remain silent, and I suggest you use it. Jenkins took his other arm, shooting me a confused look. We led Ricchetti to the cruiser, and I was hyper-aware of every eye in the vicinity watching. A truck driver had pulled over to watch the scene. Someone across the highway had their phone out, probably recording. Perfect. Just perfect. At the station, processing took all of 20 minutes. Ricchetti sat in the holding area looking completely at ease, like he spent every Tuesday night in police custody. He answered every question with polite accuracy, never losing that calm demeanor. Captain Reed emerged from her office, took one look at him, and her expression went carefully neutral. That was my second warning sign. Reed had been on the force for 23 years. Nothing rattled her. Officer Morgan, Jenkins, my office, now. We left Ricchetti with Officer Davis and followed Reed into her cramped office. She closed the door with more force than necessary. Do you know who that is? She asked without preamble. Luca Ricchetti, I said. Owns an import company, drives too fast, and has boundary issues. Reed's jaw tightened. Let him post bail. Get him out of here. Captain, he was doing 90 without documentation. I don't care if he was doing 120 while juggling chainsaws. Process the citation and let him go. Jenkins and I exchanged glances. Reed wasn't the type to let anyone slide, regardless of money or connections. Is there something we should know? I asked carefully. Just do it. And Morgan, stay away from him. That's an order, not a suggestion. 30 minutes later, a lawyer in a suit that probably cost more than my car showed up. Bail was posted. Richetti walked out of holding looking exactly as composed as when he'd walked in. He paused at the front desk where I was finishing paperwork. Thank you for your service, Officer Morgan. I'm sure we'll see each other again soon. I sincerely doubt that, Mr. Richetti. That smile again, the one that made my stomach do something complicated. We'll see. He left. I went home. Took a shower hot enough to scald away the memory of his voice in my ear. That ridiculous statement that still echoed in my head. I want you to be mine. Who said things like that? To a cop? While being arrested? Sleep came eventually, restless and thin. My phone buzzed around noon. I'd pulled a double and was finally off rotation for 36 hours. The text from Jenkins simply said, "Check the department group chat." I opened it to find controlled chaos. Someone had posted a video link. I clicked it, stomach already sinking. The video was grainy, shot from across the highway but clear enough. Me approaching the Aston Martin. Me cuffing Richetti. The angle didn't capture audio, thank God, but the comments underneath were already speculating about who he was, what he'd done. One comment caught my eye. That's Luca Richetti. My cousin works port security, says he basically runs half the docks. I was about to close the app when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, I saw a delivery man holding an enormous bouquet of white roses. At least 3 dozen, arranged with the kind of artistry that screamed expensive. I opened the door. I think you have the wrong address. Olivia Morgan? He checked his tablet. That's me, but I didn't order. Delivery for you, ma'am. Sign here. I signed because what else was I going to do? And took the flowers inside. They smelled incredible, filled my small apartment with their fragrance. The card was simple, cream-colored cardstock with elegant handwriting. Thank you for your courtesy, Officer Morgan. L.R. I should have thrown them out. Should have reported it as harassment or intimidation or whatever the correct protocol was. Instead, I put them in water and stared at them for way too long, trying to figure out why my hands were shaking. Captain Reed's office smelled like burnt coffee and old case files. She'd called me in first thing when I reported for my next shift, her expression more serious than I'd seen in months. Close the door, Morgan. I did, settling into the worn chair across from her desk. Through the window behind her, I could see the bullpen, other officers starting their day with the usual chaos of shift change. Reed pulled a folder from her drawer and dropped it on the desk between us. Luca Richetti, age 34, born in Naples, moved to the States when he was 8. Runs Richetti Imports, legitimate on paper. In reality, he's the head of one of the most powerful organized crime families on the East Coast. My stomach dropped. You're saying he's Mafia? Yes. His father ran the organization before him. Luca took over when he was 19 after his parents were killed in what the official report called a car accident. Reed's finger tapped the folder. It wasn't an accident. Rival family took them out. Luca consolidated power within 6 months and has held it ever since. I thought about the man in the tailored suit, the way he'd smiled when I cuffed him. That calm, almost amused demeanor suddenly took on a different weight. He's been under federal investigation 3 times, Reed continued. Nothing's ever stuck. He's careful, insulated, doesn't get his hands dirty directly. Why are you telling me this? Reed leaned back in her chair, studying me with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. Because I need you to understand the situation. That traffic stop video went viral locally. You're visible now, associated with him. Even if it was just doing your job. That's not my fault. No, it's not. But there's something else you need to know. She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. We've had leaks in the department. Information getting out that shouldn't. Details about ongoing investigations. Surveillance schedules. Someone's feeding intel to someone on the outside. The implication settled over me like ice water. You think it's connected to Richetti? I don't know, but I'm telling you this so you understand why you need to be careful. Stay away from him, Morgan. Don't engage if he contacts you again. These people, they don't play by rules we recognize. I left her office with more questions than answers. The folder's contents burned into my memory. The bullpen felt different now, like I was seeing everyone through new eyes. Who was the leak? Was it someone I worked with every day? Jenkins caught up with me at my locker. Everything okay? Reed looked intense. Just routine follow-up on the Richetti stop. I kept my voice neutral. Nothing serious. He nodded, accepting it, and headed out for patrol. I watched him go, hating that I was suddenly suspicious of everyone. The next 3 days were tense and uneventful. I kept checking over my shoulder, expecting something to happen, but nothing did. Life continued. I worked my shifts, went home, tried to sleep. Then the coffee shop happened. I stopped at my usual place on 4th Street before my morning shift. I'd been going there for 2 years, knew the staff by name, had my order memorized by everyone who worked the counter. Luca Richetti was sitting at a corner table with a newspaper and an espresso. He looked up as I entered, and that slight smile appeared. Officer Morgan. What a pleasant coincidence. Is it? I kept my voice flat, moved to the counter without acknowledging him further. Ordered my usual, paid, tried to ignore the weight of his attention on my back. When my coffee was ready, I took it and headed for the door. His voice stopped me. You should know that video has made you quite famous in certain circles. I turned. I don't know what you're talking about. The traffic stop. It's being discussed by people who have interest in my movements. That makes you interesting by association. He folded the newspaper precisely. You should be careful, Officer Morgan. Is that a threat? A warning? There's a difference. He stood, leaving money on the table. Enjoy your coffee. He left before I could respond. I stood there, pulse hammering, coffee cooling in my hands. The next morning, he was at the gym when I arrived for my 6 a.m. workout. Different location, same result. He was on the rowing machine, barely breaking a sweat, and nodded politely when he saw me. I left without exercising. The day after, I saw his Aston Martin parked outside the grocery store I used. He was in the produce section, examining tomatoes like he had all the time in the world. I grabbed my essentials and got out of there, skin crawling with the sensation of being watched. The pattern was clear. He wasn't hiding it, wasn't trying to be subtle. Wherever I went, he appeared. Always polite, always at a distance. Never quite crossing the line into anything I could officially report. On the 4th day, I'd had enough. I waited in the gym parking lot, next to his car. When he emerged, I was leaning against the Aston Martin's hood. We need to talk. He didn't look surprised. I was wondering when you'd confront me directly. Why are you following me? I'm not following you. I'm simply existing in the same spaces you frequent. It's a free country. That infuriating smile again. But since you asked, I think we should have a conversation about your safety. My safety is fine. Is it? He moved closer, not threatening, but suddenly I was aware of how much bigger he was. That video put you on a radar you don't understand. The Yamaguchi family has been trying to move into my territory for months. They've been escalating, using violence, targeting civilian connections. I'm not your connection. I arrested you. They don't see it that way. They see a beautiful police officer who got my attention, who I sent flowers to, who I spoke to in a very specific way while being handcuffed. His eyes held mine. They see leverage. My mouth went dry. You're saying I'm in danger because of you? I'm saying you were put in danger the moment that video went online. Not by me, by circumstance. He reached into his jacket, slowly, pulled out a business card. If anything unusual happens, anything at all, you call this number. Franco Zanarello. He's my head of security, and he'll respond immediately. I'm a cop. I don't need a criminal security detail. Then pray you don't need it. He pressed the card into my hand. But keep it anyway. He got into his car and drove away, leaving me standing in the parking lot with a business card burning a hole in my palm. I should have thrown it away. Should have gone straight to Captain Reed and reported the conversation. Instead, I put it in my wallet, behind my badge, where I could pretend it didn't exist. That night, I pulled up the video again. Watched myself cuff Luca Richetti, watched the smooth way he moved, the control in every gesture. Read through hundreds of comments. many of them speculating about his identity. One comment thread caught my attention. "My aunt works at the port. Says the Yakuza's been pushing hard into Richetti territory. It's gonna get ugly." Another, "Friend in the FBI says they've been watching him for years. Can't touch him, though. Guys like smoke." I closed the laptop and stared at the white roses on my kitchen counter. They were starting to wilt, petals browning at the edges. But I hadn't thrown them out. Something told me I should be more afraid than I was. Instead, I felt something else entirely. Something dangerous and complicated that I refused to name. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message was simple. "Stop looking into things you don't understand. This is friendly advice." I stared at it for a long time before deleting it. Then I took Franco Zanarello's card out of my wallet and put it on my nightstand. Just in case. The double shift left me exhausted enough that I almost missed it. I'd worked 16 hours covering for Jenkins, who'd called in sick, dealt with 2 domestic disturbances and a bar fight, and all I wanted was my bed and 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. My apartment building looked normal. Same cracked concrete steps, same flickering light in the hallway that the landlord kept promising to fix. I climbed to the 3rd floor, keys already in hand, and stopped dead when I saw my door. It was closed, but wrong. The frame was splintered near the lock, paint chipped away where someone had forced entry. Fresh damage, recent enough that I could smell the wood dust. Training kicked in. I dropped my bag, drew my service weapon, and radioed for backup. Then I waited, pulse thundering in my ears, every nerve on high alert. It took 8 minutes for the first unit to arrive. 8 minutes of standing in that hallway, weapon trained on my own door, imagining what I might find inside. Officer Davis arrived first, followed quickly by 2 more units. We cleared the apartment room by room, corners and closets, every space someone could hide. Empty. Whoever had been here was long gone. But they'd left their mark. My living room was destroyed. Couch cushions slashed open, stuffing everywhere. Books pulled from shelves and scattered across the floor. Kitchen cabinets hung open, contents dumped out. In my bedroom, drawers had been yanked out and upended, clothes thrown everywhere. What they hadn't taken was almost more disturbing than what they had. My laptop sat untouched on the coffee table. My grandmother's jewelry, the only valuable things I owned, remained in the box on my dresser. The $70 in my nightstand drawer was still there. This wasn't a robbery. Davis moved through the rooms, documenting everything with his camera. Looks like they were searching for something specific. Any idea what? I shook my head, but my attention was caught by something else. Picture frames on my bookshelf. The ones holding photos of me and my dad at my academy graduation. Me with my college roommates. Me with my mom before she'd passed. All empty. The photos had been removed. "They took my pictures," I said, voice sounding distant to my own ears. Davis came over, examined the empty frames. His expression shifted to concern. "That's not normal." My bedroom wall stopped me cold. Above my bed, someone had spray-painted characters I didn't recognize. Sharp, angular strokes in black paint. They looked Asian, possibly Japanese. "We need to get someone who can translate this," Davis said, already pulling out his phone. I already knew who could tell me what it meant. The business card was still in my wallet, Franco Zanarello's number printed in elegant script. I should call Captain Reed. Should go through proper channels. Should absolutely not contact a known criminal's security chief. I pulled out my phone and dialed Franco's number instead. He answered on the second ring. "Zanarello, this is Officer Olivia Morgan. Luca gave me your number. My apartment's been broken into." Silence for 2 beats. "Are you there now?" "Yes. Other officers are here, but nothing was stolen. They left a message on my wall, in Japanese. Get out of the apartment. Now. I'm sending someone immediately. I'm not leaving a crime scene. Officer Morgan." His voice cut through my protest with unexpected authority. "If there's Japanese writing on your wall, you're not dealing with a simple break-in. The Yamaguchi family leaves signatures. You need to leave that apartment right now, and you need to do it before anyone else sees that message." Something in his tone made my blood run cold. "What does it say?" "I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't let anyone photograph that wall." He hung up. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, as the reality of my situation crashed down on me. This wasn't about me. This was about Luca. About that video. Those flowers. Whatever game was being played at levels I didn't understand. Davis came out of the bedroom. "Captain Reed is on her way. She wants everyone out until she gets here. Preserve the scene. I need 5 minutes alone in there first. Personal items." He hesitated, then nodded. "Make it quick." I went back into my bedroom and took photos of the Japanese characters with my personal phone. Then I grabbed the small fireproof lockbox from under my bed, the one holding my important documents, and shoved it into my work bag. When I emerged, Davis and the other officers were in the hallway. Franco Zanarello arrived exactly 10 minutes after I'd called him. He was shorter than Luca, maybe 5'10", with salt and pepper hair and the kind of face that had seen too much. He wore a dark suit and moved with the confidence of someone used to difficult situations. "Officer Morgan?" He extended a hand. "Franco Zanarello. I'm a security consultant." I shook his hand, aware of Davis watching. "Thanks for coming." Franco's eyes moved past me to the open apartment door. "May I see the message?" Davis stepped forward. "Sir, this is an active crime scene." "I understand. I'm simply offering translation services. I'm fluent in Japanese." Franco's smile was professional, practiced. "Unless you have someone else available?" Davis looked at me. I nodded. We went inside, Franco moving through the space with careful attention. When he saw the characters on my bedroom wall, his jaw tightened. "What does it say?" I asked. "We know your weakness." Franco pulled out his phone and took a photo before turning to me. "This is a Yamaguchi signature. They're a Yakuza organization that's been trying to expand into Luca's territory. This is a message meant for him, using you as the delivery method." "Why me?" "The video, the flowers he sent. They think you matter to him." Franco's expression was grim. "Which means they'll use you to get to him if they can." Davis had followed us in. "I'm going to need you to come down to the station and make a formal statement about this." "Of course." Franco handed him a business card. "Here's my contact information for the report." Captain Reed arrived 20 minutes later. She took one look at the Japanese characters, then at me, and I watched her expression shutter closed. We spoke briefly in the hallway. Her voice low and controlled. "You need to find somewhere else to stay tonight. Maybe with family. My parents are both dead. I don't have anyone." The words came out flat. "I can get a hotel. That's probably smart." She paused. "Morgan, this is exactly what I warned you about. I know. I didn't ask for this. I know you didn't. But it's happening anyway." She looked back at my ruined apartment. "Take a few days. We'll call it personal leave. Get your head straight. Figure out your next move." After she left, I stood in the hallway with my work bag and no idea where to go. My phone buzzed. Franco's number. "Luca would like to speak with you. Would you be willing to meet?" "I don't think that's a good idea." "Officer Morgan, with respect, good ideas left the building when the Yamaguchi broke into your home. Luca can offer protection. He can also explain exactly what you're dealing with." I should have said no. Should have hung up, found a hotel, dealt with this through proper channels. Where? Franco gave me an address. An hour later, I was pulling up to a warehouse in the industrial district. Not what I expected. 2 men in dark suits met me at the entrance, patted me down professionally but not invasively, and led me inside. The warehouse had been converted into something elegant and unexpected. Exposed brick walls, modern furniture, soft lighting. Luca stood near floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water, hands in his pockets, staring out at the city lights. He turned when I entered. "Thank you for coming. I know you didn't have to. Your man said you could explain what's happening." "I can. Sit, please." He gestured to a leather couch. "Can I get you something? Water? Coffee?" "Answers would be great." A slight smile. Direct. "I appreciate that about you." He settled into the chair across from me. The Yamaguchi family is one of the largest Yakuza organizations in Japan. 3 years ago, they decided to expand into the United States. They chose the East Coast, specifically territories that I control. Control, I repeated, through illegal activities. Through business, some of which falls outside legal boundaries, yes. I won't insult you by pretending otherwise. He leaned forward slightly. They've been pushing aggressively, targeting my legitimate operations, disrupting supply chains, using violence against associates. 2 months ago, they killed 3 men who worked for me, not criminals, dock workers with families. I thought about my empty picture frames. And I'm caught in this because of a traffic stop? Because of a video that showed me speaking to you in a way that suggested interest? Because I sent you flowers, which confirmed that interest? The Yamaguchi see weakness in attachment, in caring about anything beyond power. His eyes held mine. They think you're my weakness now. They'll try to use you to hurt me. I'm not your weakness. I barely know you. That won't matter to them. The perception is what's dangerous. He stood, moved to a table where Franco had laid out several photographs. This is what they do to people they perceive as leverage. He held up one photo. I looked away after 2 seconds. The image would haunt me anyway. I don't need to see that. You do, actually. You need to understand the kind of people you're dealing with. This isn't petty crime, Officer Morgan. This is organized violence with no regard for innocence or law. I stood up, needing movement. So what am I supposed to do? Hide? Run? Quit my job? You're supposed to let me protect you. Absolutely not. Then at least let Franco install security at your apartment. Cameras, reinforced locks, a panic system linked directly to my people. Your people are criminals. My people are effective. His voice sharpened with frustration. Your police department can't protect you from this. They don't have the resources or the understanding of how the Yamaguchi operate. I do. We stared at each other across the room. He was right. And I hated that he was right. Enhanced security only, I finally said. No guards, no surveillance detail, no further contact between us. You keep your distance, I keep mine, and eventually they'll lose interest. You don't know them like I do. Then I'll learn fast. Franco appeared in the doorway. I can have a team at her apartment within the hour, full installation by morning. Luca looked at me. That acceptable? I nodded. 2 days later, when I felt brave enough, Luca showed up at my door himself. It was late, past 11, and I'd been staring at my freshly painted bedroom wall for an hour. Franco's team had removed the Japanese characters, patched the damage, made everything look normal again. But I couldn't unsee those words. The knock was soft. I checked the new security monitor, another addition from Franco's team, and saw Luca standing in my hallway holding takeout bags. Against every instinct screaming at me to leave the door closed, I opened it. I brought dinner, he said. I thought you might not have had time to eat properly. The smell of garlic and tomato hit me, and my stomach reminded me I'd survived on coffee and protein bars all day. I stepped aside to let him in. He set the bags on my kitchen counter, moving with the same careful grace I'd noticed that first night. Italian, I hope that's acceptable. Why are you really here? Because 2 days ago, you experienced something traumatic, and I'm partially responsible for that. Because I wanted to check on you personally. He started unpacking containers. And because I think we should talk, really talk, about what happened to me when I was 19. About what it's like to live in this world. About why I do what I do. I sat down at the counter. He served food onto plates, found forks in my drawer without asking where things were, and sat across from me. My father was a good man, he began. Hard, but fair. He ran his organization like a business, avoided unnecessary violence, took care of people. When I was 19, the Rossi family decided they wanted our territory. They killed both my parents on a Sunday afternoon. Car bomb. I was supposed to be in that car too, but I'd stayed late at the warehouse. I listened. Food forgotten. I had a choice. Walk away, let the family fall apart, start over somewhere clean, or take control, become exactly what my father had been. His fingers traced the rim of his water glass. I chose the latter. Not because I wanted power, but because 30 families depended on the organization for their livelihood. Because walking away would have meant more bloodshed as everyone fought over the vacuum. You could have gone to the police. The police couldn't prove anything. The Rossi family was very careful. And by the time I'd consolidated power, I was too deep to extract myself without massive casualties. He met my eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness or understanding. I'm just explaining how a 19-year-old kid becomes a 34-year-old criminal, because I think you deserve to know who sent you flowers. We talked until after 2 a.m, about his parents, about my father who died responding to a domestic violence call when I was 15, about the choices that shape us, the paths we can't walk back from, the weight of responsibility neither of us had asked for. When he finally left, I stood at my window watching his car drive away, thinking about how nothing in my training had prepared me for this, for feeling sympathy towards someone like Luca Ricchetti, for understanding, even slightly, the world he inhabited, for wanting to see him again. A week passed with eerie calm. I returned to work, went through my routines with the new security system humming in the background of my life. No more break-ins, no mysterious messages. Luca kept his distance like I'd asked. I told myself I was relieved. Told myself the knot of disappointment in my chest was just stress. Thursday evening, I stopped at the grocery store on my way home from a day shift. Nothing fancy, just milk, bread, something for dinner that didn't come from a drive-thru. The parking lot was half empty, streetlights just starting to flicker on as dusk settled over the city. I was loading bags into my trunk when I heard footsteps behind me. Too close, too fast. Training kicked in before conscious thought. I spun, hand going for my weapon. But there were 3 of them, and they moved with coordinated precision. The first man grabbed my arm. Asian, maybe late 20s, tattoos visible at his collar. I twisted, broke his grip, got my hand on my gun. The second man hit my wrist hard enough that my fingers went numb, and the weapon clattered to the pavement. "Don't make this difficult," the third one said. His English was perfect, but accented. "Get in the van. No one needs to get hurt." A white cargo van sat idling 3 spaces away, side door open. Waiting. I screamed. Drove my elbow into the closest man's solar plexus, felt the satisfying whoosh of air leaving his lungs. Someone grabbed my hair, yanked me backward. I went with the momentum, used it to throw my full weight against him. We both hit the ground. My radio. I slapped at my belt, found it, managed to hit the emergency button before someone kicked it out of my hand. The device skittered under a car, red light blinking. They were dragging me toward the van when headlights blazed across the parking lot. A black SUV came around the corner too fast, tires screeching. It slammed to a stop between me and the van. Luca emerged from the driver's side. Franco came from the passenger side. Both moved with lethal purpose. What happened next lasted maybe 30 seconds but felt like an hour. Franco hit the first man with something that looked like practiced brutality, efficient and brutal. Luca grabbed the one holding me, and I watched him transform into someone I hadn't seen before. The violence was controlled, but absolute. He broke the man's grip on me with a move that left him screaming. The third attacker pulled a knife. Luca disarmed him so fast I barely tracked the motion, then put him on the ground with his knee on the man's spine. "Touch her again, and I'll kill every member of your organization starting with you." Luca's voice was empty of emotion, cold in a way that raised every hair on my body. Tell Tanaka this was his only warning. Franco zip-tied 2 of them to a light pole. The third was unconscious. Luca turned to me and his expression shifted, the coldness evaporating into something like concern. "Are you hurt?" I couldn't answer. My hands were shaking, adrenaline crashing through my system. I watched him wipe blood off his knuckles with a handkerchief, watched Franco secure the scene with mechanical efficiency, and realized I'd just seen exactly what kind of man Luca Ricchetti really was when pushed. Sirens wailed in the distance. My emergency signal had gone through. "We need to go," Franco said. "Police will be here in 2 minutes. I'm not leaving. I'm a cop. You need to come with us right now." Luca's hand on my arm was gentle despite everything I'd just witnessed. "Those men will tell the police anything that serves them. You were attacked. You defended yourself. We happened to intervene. But if you stay, this becomes complicated in ways that put you in more danger." "Luca," Franco's voice held warning. 60 seconds. Please." Luca's eyes held mine. "Trust me for the next hour. After that, you can call whoever you want, report whatever you need to. But right now, I need to get you somewhere safe. I should have stayed. Should have waited for backup, filed reports, done everything by the book. Instead, I got into his SUV. He drove fast, but not recklessly, taking turns that suggested he knew exactly where he was going. Franco sat in the back, on his phone, speaking in rapid Italian. My police radio sat on my belt, silent now, probably being discussed by every unit in the vicinity. Where are we going? My property. It's secure. Luca's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I'm sorry. I had people watching, but they moved faster than we anticipated. You had people watching me? Yes. I told you I would protect you. He glanced over. Are you injured? Did they hurt you? Bruises. Nothing serious. I pressed my palms against my thighs to stop them shaking. How did you know to come? My people saw them setting up. Called it in. Franco and I were 15 minutes away. We got lucky. Lucky. I'd just been almost kidnapped in broad daylight. Had watched Luca break someone's arm without hesitation. And we were calling it lucky. The property was 30 minutes outside the city, hidden behind gates and walls that screamed private. The house itself was unexpected. Modern architecture, clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking manicured grounds. Not the Gothic mansion I'd imagined. Inside was even more surprising. Minimalist furniture, expensive but understated. Art on the walls that looked original. Everything carefully curated, but somehow still feeling lived in. Franco disappeared down a hallway after a brief conversation in Italian with Luca. We were alone in a living room that probably cost more than my annual salary. Sit, Luca said, guiding me to a leather couch. I'm going to get the first aid kit. I don't need... Your arm is bleeding. I looked down. He was right. One of them must have caught me with the knife. A shallow cut through my sleeve. I hadn't even felt it happen. Luca returned with a kit that would put a small hospital to shame. He sat beside me, rolled up my sleeve with careful hands, cleaned the wound with efficiency that spoke of experience. His touch was surprisingly gentle. This is going to hurt, he warned before applying antiseptic. It did. I hissed through my teeth but didn't pull away. He worked in silence, bandaging the cut with practiced precision. You've done this before, I observed. Yes. Occupational hazard in my line of work. He finished, sat back. That should hold until you can get it properly looked at. I can't believe you had people following me. I can't believe you're surprised. He stood, moved to a cabinet, and poured amber liquid into 2 glasses. After what happened to your apartment, did you really think I'd leave you unprotected? I didn't ask for protection. You didn't need to. He handed me 1 glass. Whiskey. It'll help with the shock. I took it. Sipped. It burned going down, smooth and expensive. We sat in silence for a moment. The weight of what had just happened settling over us. What I did to those men, Luca said finally. That's who I am when violence becomes necessary. I wanted you to see it eventually, but not like this. You were terrifying. Yes. No denial, no apology. That's the point. In my world, the appearance of capability prevents most fights before they start. But when they start anyway, you finish them decisively. I thought about the man screaming, the cold way Luca had delivered his threat. You meant it. About killing them. Every word. He met my eyes. Does that frighten you? It should. But does it? I wanted to say yes. Wanted to be horrified, to call for backup, to run from this man and everything he represented. Instead, I kept seeing him appear in that parking lot, the way he'd positioned himself between me and danger without hesitation. I'm questioning my judgment, I admitted. That's probably wise. A slight smile, almost sad. I'm not a good man, Olivia. I've done things that would horrify you if you knew the details. But I keep my word, and I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. Aren't you? He leaned forward, close enough that I could smell cedar and something darker. Every time I close my eyes, I see you standing on that highway, chin up, refusing to be intimidated. Every conversation we've had has made me want more. You're in my head in ways I haven't allowed anyone to be in 15 years. My breath caught. Luca, I know. You're a cop. I'm everything you're supposed to stand against. It's impossible and inappropriate and probably dangerous for both of us. His hand came up, fingers brushing my jaw so gently it was almost imaginary. But tell me you don't feel this too. I should have pulled away. Should have said something professional, something that established boundaries. Instead, I leaned into his touch, just slightly, and watched his eyes darken. The moment stretched, fragile and charged. Then his phone rang, shattering it. He pulled back, checked the screen, answered. Yes? Listened. Understood. Keep them there. He hung up, expression shifting to business. The police found the men in the parking lot. One of them is talking, claiming you attacked them unprovoked. That's insane. It's strategy. They'll try to discredit you, make you seem unstable or corrupt. He stood. You need to get ahead of this. Call your captain, explain what happened, get on record first. He was right. I pulled out my phone, saw 17 missed calls from the department, called Captain Reed directly. She answered immediately. Morgan, where the hell are you? I'm safe. I'll explain everything, but you need to know what really happened tonight. I told her. All of it, leaving out only the location where I was now. She listened in silence until I finished. Come in tomorrow morning. First thing. We'll sort this out. Her voice softened slightly. I'm glad you're okay. But Morgan, you're getting pulled into something way over your head. I know. After I hung up, Luca gestured to the hallway. Guest rooms are upstairs. You should stay here tonight. Franco's already arranged for clothes and anything else you might need. I should go home. Your home has been compromised once already. Here, you're safe. His expression was earnest. Please, let me have this much peace of mind. I was too exhausted to argue, too shaken to drive, too confused about everything I was feeling to trust my own judgment. One night, I agreed. Then I figure out what happens next. One night, he echoed, but something in his tone suggested he knew that one night was already more than either of us could take back. Captain Reed's office felt smaller than usual, the walls pressing in as she paced behind her desk. I'd been sitting there for 20 minutes while she read through my written statement for the third time. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. She set the papers down with deliberate care. You were attacked in a grocery store parking lot by 3 men with apparent Yakuza connections. Luca Ricchetti and his associate happened to intervene. You then left the scene before backup arrived and spent the night at Ricchetti's property. That's accurate, yes. Morgan. She rubbed her temples. Do you have any idea how this looks? I was almost kidnapped. I defended myself. Civilians helped. I reported it immediately to you. Civilians. She laughed without humor. The head of an organized crime family isn't a civilian. He's a criminal. And you spending the night at his estate raises questions I can't answer for internal affairs. My stomach dropped. IA is involved? The men you fought are claiming you initiated the attack, that they were simply in the parking lot when you assaulted them without provocation. They're saying Ricchetti's men joined in to protect you because you're involved with him. That's completely false. I know that. You know that. But the optics are terrible. Reed sat down heavily. I have to put you on administrative leave, Morgan. Effective immediately. It's not a punishment, it's protocol while we sort through this mess. Captain, please. It's already decided. Turn in your badge and weapon. Take 2 weeks minimum. We'll reassess after Internal Affairs completes their review. Her expression softened slightly. I believe you. But I need you away from this situation before it gets worse. I left the station feeling hollow. My badge and gun sat in Reed's desk drawer. 27 years old, and my career was potentially circling the drain because I'd done nothing wrong, except exist in the same orbit as Luca Ricchetti. My phone rang as I reached my car. Unknown number. Officer Morgan? A male voice, vaguely familiar. This is Detective Kyle Bennett. We met briefly at the station last month. I work Organized Crime Division. I remember. What can I do for you? I heard about what happened last night. I wanted to check in. See if you're okay. He paused. Also wanted to ask if you've been staying at the same address. For report purposes. Something felt off about the question. I'm staying with friends temporarily. Why? Just updating our files. The Yamaguchi situation is active. We want to make sure we can reach you if needed. Another pause. Are you staying at Ricchetti's property? Warning bells went off. Why would you assume that? Just asking. Word travels fast in our division. His tone was casual, but the question wasn't. Listen, if you need anything, or if you want to talk about what you've observed around Ricchetti, my door's open. Sometimes civilians get caught up in situations they don't fully understand. I appreciate the concern, detective, but I'm handling it. I hung up, skin crawling. Something about that conversation felt wrong. The way he'd asked specifically about Luca's property. The casual probe about what I'd observed. 2 days dragged by. I stayed at my apartment despite Franco's warnings, but I was hypervigilant. Every sound was a threat. Every car that drove past was suspicious. I wasn't sleeping, barely eating, jumping at shadows. On the 3rd day, I gave up and went back to the station to collect some personal items from my locker. The building felt alien now, like I was visiting somewhere I no longer belonged. Officers I'd worked with for 3 years suddenly found reasons to be elsewhere when I appeared. I was leaving through the side entrance when I noticed Detective Bennett in the parking lot, standing beside his car, phone pressed to his ear. Something about his posture made me pause in the doorway, out of sight. No, she's not staying there anymore. Back at her apartment. His voice carried across the pavement. I confirmed it this morning. Yes, the one on Oak Street. Pause. I don't know her schedule. I'll find out. Ice flooded my veins. I pulled back into the building, heart hammering. He was feeding information about me to someone. Someone who wanted to know my location, my routine, the leak Reed had mentioned. It was Bennett. I needed to tell someone, but who? Reed was already dealing with IA breathing down her neck. And I had no proof beyond overhearing half a conversation. My phone buzzed. Franco. Officer Morgan, I need you to listen carefully. We have intelligence that suggests another attempt will be made on you. Soon, possibly within the next 48 hours. How do you know this? We have sources inside the Yamaguchi organization. They're planning something bigger this time. More public. Meant to send a message to Luca. I thought about Bennett in the parking lot, confirming my location. I think there's a leak in my department. Someone's feeding them information about me. Silence for 3 seconds. That would explain how they knew your schedule at the grocery store. Can you identify who? Detective Kyle Bennett, Organized Crime Division. I just overheard him on the phone confirming where I'm staying. Get somewhere public immediately. Stay visible. I'm sending a car to your location. Franco's voice was tense. Don't go home. Don't go anywhere isolated. Understood? Understood. I drove to a busy cafe downtown, one with cameras and crowds. Ordered coffee I didn't drink and sat near the window where I could watch the street. 30 minutes passed. An hour. My phone rang. Captain Reed. Morgan, where are you right now? Downtown. Why? There's been an incident at the precinct. Shots fired in the parking lot. Multiple casualties. Her voice was strained. I need you to stay wherever you are. Do not come here. What happened? It looks like a coordinated attack. They were waiting for shift change. Maximum personnel in the lot. She paused. Bennett's dead. 3 other officers wounded. My stomach twisted. Bennett had been dirty, feeding information to the Yamaguchi, but he'd still been a cop. Still been someone I'd worked alongside. The waste of it all hit me harder than I expected. Did he? I couldn't finish the question. Died instantly. Multiple gunshot wounds. Reed's voice was flat. Whatever he was involved in, it got him killed. My hands went numb. The Yamaguchi? We think so. Morgan, this was about you. They were asking officers where you were, looking for you specifically. When they couldn't find you, they opened fire. Guilt crashed over me like a physical weight. People were hurt because of me. Bennett was dead, and even though he'd been dirty, he was still a cop. This was my fault. I'm coming in. No, you're not. That's exactly what they want. Reed's voice was sharp. They want you exposed. Vulnerable. You stay hidden until we figure this out. I can't just hide while people are dying. You can and you will. That's not a request, Morgan. I've already got the mayor breathing down my neck and the FBI getting involved. You being here will only make it worse. I sat in that cafe for another hour. watching police cars and ambulances scream past on their way to the precinct. News alerts started flooding my phone. 3 officers wounded, 1 dead. Suspects fled the scene. Possible gang-related violence. Franco appeared beside my table so quietly I jumped. "We need to go. Now." "How did you—" "Tracked your phone. Come on." He led me to a different SUV, this one with tinted windows and a driver I didn't recognize. We pulled into traffic, heading away from the city center. "Where are we going?" "The property. It's the only place that's truly secure right now." Franco's jaw was tight. "That attack at your precinct was a message. They're escalating because Luca won't give them what they want." "Which is what, exactly?" "Territory. 3 blocks of waterfront property worth about $40 million. Luca controls it, they want it, and they've decided the fastest way to pressure him is through you." We drove in silence for several minutes. Then Franco's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. "How many?" Pause. "Get them to the property, all of them." "What's wrong?" "Yamaguchi hit one of Luca's warehouses. 4 men were there, loading shipment. They're alive, but it's bad." He looked at me. "This is a full-scale war now. You being at the property isn't just about protecting you anymore. It's about consolidating everyone Luca cares about in one defensible location." The property gates loomed ahead. Armed guards waved us through. Inside, the peaceful estate I'd seen before had transformed into something else entirely. Men in tactical gear patrolled the grounds. Vehicles were positioned strategically. This wasn't a home anymore. It was a fortress. Luca met us at the door. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, phone in one hand. He looked exhausted. Thank God. He pulled me inside, hands on my shoulders, checking me over. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine." "Luca, what's happening?" "War." He let go of me, ran a hand through his hair. "The Yamaguchi have decided that taking you will force me to negotiate. They're hitting everywhere at once, trying to smoke us out." His eyes met mine. "I'm sorry. I never wanted you in the middle of this." Franco disappeared down a hallway. We stood in the foyer, the sounds of organized chaos echoing around us. "There was a detective," I said. "Kyle Bennett. He was feeding information to them. I overheard him on the phone confirming my location." "Was?" "He's dead. They killed him during the attack on the precinct." Luca's expression went cold. "They killed their own source? Maybe he stopped being useful. Maybe he wanted out." I wrapped my arms around myself. "People are dying because of me. People are dying because the Yamaguchi are animals who use violence as negotiation." He stepped closer. "This isn't your fault. It feels like it is. I know. But feelings aren't facts." He hesitated, then asked, "When you were at the precinct before the attack, were you there long?" "Just to get things from my locker." "Why?" "Because if you'd been there during shift change, you'd be dead right now. They timed it specifically." His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. "You're alive because Franco's team was tracking you, because we got you out." The weight of that settled over me. I'd been minutes away from being in that parking lot, minutes from being shot like Bennett, like the other officers. "I shot someone once," I heard myself say. 2 years into the job. Domestic violence call. Guy pulled a gun on my partner. I put 2 rounds in his chest. Killed him instantly. Luca listened without interrupting. I had nightmares for months. Therapy. Reviewed the shooting 100 times. Eventually, I accepted it was clean, justified, unavoidable. But I still see his face sometimes. I looked up at Luca. "You've killed people. Multiple people. How do you live with that?" "I don't sleep well," he admitted. "And I don't pretend the weight goes away. But I remember why I did it. Who I was protecting. What would have happened if I hadn't." His voice was quiet. "Every life I've taken was in service of keeping other people alive. That doesn't make it good, but it makes it necessary." Gunfire cracked in the distance. We both tensed. Franco appeared seconds later. "Perimeter's secure. That was just warning shots. They got too close to the north fence." He looked at me. "You should be upstairs, away from windows." Luca nodded. "I'll take her up. Get everyone in position. If they're probing our defenses, they might try something bigger." We climbed stairs to the 2nd floor. He led me to what looked like a study. books lining the walls, heavy desk near the window. But he showed me a panel that opened to reveal a reinforced room behind it. Safe room. If things go bad, you get in here. Door 6 inches of steel, completely soundproof. Has its own ventilation system. He showed me how to lock it from inside. There's food, water, medical supplies, communication equipment to reach Franco directly. You've thought of everything. I've had to. He stepped back out. I need to coordinate with my people. You'll be okay here? I should have been terrified. Should have been calling Reed, demanding protection, doing everything by the book. Instead, I felt strangely calm. Surrounded by criminals and violence, I felt safer than I had in my own apartment. Luca. He turned back. After this is over, assuming we both survive, what happens to us? His expression was unreadable. I don't know, but I'd like the chance to find out. He left me in that study with a loaded gun he'd placed on the desk and instructions to shoot anyone who came through the door who wasn't him or Franco. I sat there, listening to men move through the house below, preparing for war, and wondered how my life had become this, and why some part of me didn't want to go back. 3 days blurred together inside the property. Meals appeared at regular intervals brought by staff who moved like ghosts. Franco checked on me hourly with updates that told me nothing and everything at once. Perimeter secure, no movement, holding position. I slept in a guest room that felt more like a luxury hotel than a safe house. Silk sheets, view of gardens I couldn't walk through, bathroom marble tiled and stocked with expensive products. Every comfort except freedom. Luca was everywhere and nowhere. I'd hear his voice in other rooms, catch glimpses of him through doorways deep in conversation with Franco or other men whose names I didn't know. He looked exhausted, running on too much coffee and not enough sleep. On the 3rd night, he finally knocked on my door past midnight. Come in. He entered carrying 2 plates. I thought you might be hungry. Staff went home hours ago, but I found pasta in the kitchen. The domestic gesture was so unexpected I almost laughed. You cooked? Heated up, technically. My culinary skills are limited. He set the plates on the small table by the window. Join me? We ate in comfortable silence for several minutes. The pasta was simple but good, and I realized I'd barely eaten all day. How are you holding up? He asked finally. I'm going stir-crazy. I'm not built for sitting still while other people fight battles around me. I set down my fork. What's the situation? And don't give me the sanitized version Franco's been feeding me. Luca considered this, then nodded. The Yamaguchi pulled back after the precinct attack. Too much heat from law enforcement. But they're regrouping, not retreating. My sources say they're planning something bigger. A final push to force me into giving them what they want. The waterfront property. Yes, 40 million in real estate. But more importantly, it's strategic. Control those docks, and you control shipping routes up and down the coast. He pushed food around his plate. I've been negotiating with intermediaries, trying to find a solution that doesn't end with more bodies. What kind of solution? A meeting, face-to-face with their leadership, mediated by a neutral third party. We hash out territory division, establish clear boundaries, end this before it spirals further. My stomach tightened. That sounds like a trap. It probably is. His voice was matter-of-fact. But it's also the only way forward. I can't keep living like this, Olivia. My people can't. And neither can you. When? 2 days. They're still finalizing the location. He met my eyes. If something happens to me at that meeting, Franco has instructions. He'll make sure you're protected, get you relocated if necessary. Don't talk like that. I need to be realistic. The Yamaguchi don't negotiate in good faith. There's a very real chance I won't walk out of that room. He leaned forward, which is why I need to say something now, while I still can. My heart hammered against my ribs. I've spent 15 years keeping everyone at arm's length. Relationships were leverage, attachments were weakness. I built walls around myself that I thought were impenetrable. His hand reached across the table, fingers brushing mine. Then you arrested me, and those walls started cracking. Luca, let me finish. Please. His thumb traced circles on my wrist. Every conversation we've had, every moment you've been in the same room, I felt something I convinced myself I was incapable of feeling. You make me want to be different, better, to find a way out of this life that doesn't end with me in a grave before 40. I should have pulled away, should have reminded him of all the reasons this was impossible. Instead, I turned my hand over, lacing our fingers together. I became a cop because I wanted to fix things, to make the world safer, more just. Black and white morality. I laughed softly. Then I met you, and suddenly everything's gray. I should despise everything you represent. Instead, I see a man who's trying to protect people the only way he knows how. That's generous. It's the truth. At least my truth. I squeezed his hand. I'm terrified of what I feel for you. It goes against everything I believe in, everything I've worked for. But it's there anyway, and I'm tired of pretending it isn't. He stood, pulled me up with him. We were inches apart, his free hand coming up to cup my face. If I kiss you right now, there's no taking it back. No pretending this is just circumstance or proximity. I know. You're sure? Instead of answering, I closed the distance. The kiss was gentle at first, almost tentative. Then his arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer. And the gentleness dissolved into something urgent and desperate, like we were both drowning and each other was air. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. Stay with me tonight. Not for anything except sleeping. I just want to know you're close. We ended up in his room down the hall. It was surprisingly simple compared to the rest of the house. King-sized bed, minimal furniture, walls painted soft gray. Personal in a way the guest spaces weren't. We lay on top of the covers, still fully clothed, face to face in the darkness. His fingers traced lazy patterns on my arm. Tell me something true, he said softly. Something you've never told anyone else. I thought about it. Sometimes I'm glad my dad died when I did. I was 15, still young enough that he's frozen in my memory as perfect. If he'd lived, I would have eventually seen his flaws, his mistakes, been disappointed by him. I paused. I feel guilty about that, like I'm not allowed to be grateful for tragedy. You're allowed to have complicated feelings about trauma. His voice was understanding. That doesn't make you a bad person. Your turn. Something true. He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. I think about leaving constantly. Selling everything, walking away, starting over somewhere no one knows my name. But I'm afraid that wherever I go, I'll still be this person. That violence and control are too deeply woven into who I am to ever extract. You're more than what you've done. Maybe. Or maybe I'm exactly what I've done, and everything else is wishful thinking. He pulled me closer. But with you, I want to try. Want to believe I could be different. We fell asleep like that, tangled together. And for a few hours the war outside those walls didn't exist. Morning came too soon. I woke to find Luca already up, standing at the window in the soft light of dawn. He'd put on fresh clothes, looked like he'd showered. Coffee's on the nightstand, he said without turning. Franco's briefing is in an hour. The meeting's been confirmed for tomorrow afternoon. I sat up, reaching for the coffee. It was surprisingly good. Where? Abandoned warehouse on the waterfront. Neutral territory. Supposedly swept for weapons and surveillance. He finally turned to face me. I'm bringing Franco and 2 others. The Yamaguchi are bringing the same. Everyone goes through metal detectors before entering. That doesn't make me feel better. It shouldn't, but it's the best option we have. He crossed to the bed, sat on the edge. I need you to promise me something. What? If things go sideways tomorrow, if Franco tells you to run, you run. No arguments, no hesitation. You get out and you don't look back. Luca, promise me, Olivia. Please. I wanted to argue. Wanted to say I'd fight beside him, that I wouldn't abandon him. But I could see in his eyes how much he needed this reassurance. I promise. He kissed me then. Slow and thorough. Like he was memorizing the taste. When he pulled back, there was something fierce in his expression. This isn't goodbye. I'm coming back. But just in case, I need you to know that meeting you changed everything. Whatever happens tomorrow, I don't regret a single moment. Then make sure you survive to have a lot more moments. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'll do my best. The rest of the day moved with painful slowness. Luca was in meetings constantly, planning, strategizing. Franco gave me a brief tutorial on the safe room's communication systems, showed me how to access emergency funds if I needed to disappear. Everyone was preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. Evening found me in the kitchen attempting to make coffee and failing miserably at the complicated machine. Luca appeared behind me, reached around to adjust settings, and suddenly it was working. "You make terrible coffee," I observed. "I have many flaws." He wrapped his arms around my waist, chin resting on my shoulder. "That's definitely one of them. What are the others?" "Stubbornness, control issues, tendency to solve problems with violence first and questions later." He paused. "Falling for a cop who arrested me, which might be the biggest flaw of all." I turned in his arms. "Or the smartest thing you've ever done. We'll see." He kissed my forehead. "Tomorrow, after the meeting, assuming everything goes according to plan, I want to take you somewhere. Just us, no guards, no war. Somewhere normal." "Where?" "There's a stretch of beach about an hour north. Private, quiet. I bought the land years ago thinking I might build something there someday." His thumb brushed my cheekbone. "I want to walk on that beach with you and pretend we're just two people figuring out if this could work. I'd like that." We spent that night together again, but this time it was different. More intense, more present. Like we were both acutely aware that tomorrow could shatter everything. We talked until the early hours, about everything and nothing, childhoods and dreams, fears and regrets. When exhaustion finally pulled us under, I lay in his arms thinking about impossible futures and dangerous presents, about the line I'd crossed by falling for him, and whether I could ever find my way back. I didn't want to. Luca insisted I stay at the property during the meeting. I argued for 20 minutes before Franco quietly reminded me that my presence would only complicate an already volatile situation. He was right, and I hated it. They left at noon. Luca paused at the door, kissed me once more like he was memorizing the feeling, then walked out without looking back. Franco followed with 2 men I recognized from the security detail. 4 against however many the Yamaguchi brought. The house felt empty after they left. Staff moved through rooms on silent feet, but the energy had changed. Everyone was waiting, tense, for news that might not come. I tried to distract myself, attempted to read, gave up after 3 pages, made coffee, poured it out untouched, paced the study until my legs ached, finally settled by the window, watching the driveway, phone clutched in my hand. An hour passed, then another. My mind created 1,000 scenarios, each worse than the last. Ambush, execution, betrayal. At hour 3, my phone rang. "Franco. It's happening. Not good." Then gunfire erupted through the speaker, and the line went dead. My heart stopped. I tried calling back. Nothing. Tried Luca's phone. Straight to voicemail. Tried Franco again. No answer. The security guard stationed outside my door knocked. "Miss Morgan, we have orders to move you to the safe room immediately." "What's happening?" "Unknown situation at the meeting location. Protocol is to secure you until we have more information." I let him lead me to the reinforced room behind Luca's study, but I didn't lock the door. I sat there, phone in hand, willing it to ring. 10 minutes. 20. Nothing. Then movement outside. Multiple vehicles coming up the driveway too fast. I ran to the window, saw Franco's SUV screech to a stop. Men poured out, and they were carrying someone. Luca. I was down the stairs before conscious thought, bursting through the front door as they carried him inside. Blood stained his white shirt, and his face was too pale. "What happened?" I demanded. Franco's face was grim. Trap. They had someone on the inside we didn't know about, another cop they'd been paying off. When negotiations started, Yamaguchi pulled weapons they'd hidden in the walls. It was an ambush. They laid Luca on the dining room table, and I got my first good look at the damage. Gunshot wound to his left shoulder, another that grazed his ribs. Bleeding, but not arterial. Franco had taken a bullet to the leg, was limping badly, but still giving orders. Training kicked in. I'd done trauma response training at the academy. I need towels, hot water, first aid supplies. Now. Someone ran. I pressed my hands to Luca's shoulder, applying pressure. His eyes opened, unfocused, then found mine. "You're supposed to be in the safe room," he managed. "Shut up, stay still." My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. "Franco, what happened to the Yamaguchi? Their leader's dead. Caught in the crossfire. So is Bennett. He tried to run when everything went sideways." Franco lowered himself into a chair, wincing. "We got out, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. The Yamaguchi will retaliate for their boss." Supplies arrived. I worked on Luca's wounds, cleaning, packing, bandaging. The shoulder was bad, but the bullet had gone through. Ribs were superficial. He'd been incredibly lucky. "You need a hospital," I told him. "Can't. Questions I can't answer." His hand caught mine, squeezed. "You've got steady hands for someone who's terrified." "Who says I'm terrified? I can feel you shaking." "That's just adrenaline." I finished with his shoulder, moved to the rib wound. Bennett was alive? This whole time? They'd been working with someone else in the department. Another detective. Someone from narcotics. He confirmed the setup. Gave them our positions. Luca's jaw tightened. Got himself killed in the crossfire. Guess that's what happens when you play both sides. Franco was being tended to by another man, the bullet extracted from his thigh. He'd refused anything stronger than whiskey for the pain. When it was done, he limped over to where Luca lay. "We need to move, everyone. They'll hit the property next. Try to finish what they started." "Where?" Luca asked. "The beach house. It's off the books. Secure. They don't know about it." Franco looked at me. "You're coming too. Not a request. I should have called Reed. Should have reported everything. Let proper authorities handle it. Instead, I nodded. We moved fast. Luca could walk with support. I helped him to the SUV while others loaded supplies, weapons, equipment. The small convoy left the property within 30 minutes, leaving a skeleton crew to defend what was likely about to become a war zone. The drive took an hour and a half. Luca sat beside me, head back against the seat, breathing carefully. I kept checking his bandages for fresh blood. The wounds had stabilized, but he needed proper medical attention soon. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For what?" "Getting you deeper into this. You saved my life back there, and now you're an accessory to God knows how many crimes. I made my choice." I took his hand, eyes open, fully aware. "I chose you, even knowing what that means, especially knowing what it means." The beach house was small, modern, built into the dunes with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. Isolated enough that our closest neighbor was 2 miles away. Franco had a doctor waiting, someone discreet who asked no questions. While the doctor worked on Luca properly, stitching and medicating, Franco pulled me aside. "What happened in that warehouse changes things. The Yamaguchi's second-in-command will take over. He's younger, more aggressive. This war just escalated." He studied me. "You understand you can't go back to your old life now? You've crossed too many lines. Done too much. Even if we win this, you're compromised." "I know. And you're okay with that?" I thought about my badge in Reed's drawer. My apartment I'd barely lived in. The career I'd built for 3 years. All of it felt like someone else's life now. "I'm okay with it." He nodded slowly. "Luca's lucky to have you. I hope he knows that." The doctor finished around 10 p.m. Luca would be fine, needed rest and antibiotics. But barring infection, he'd recover fully. Franco's leg would take longer, but wasn't life-threatening. We gathered in the living room, exhausted and battered. 2 of Franco's men stood guard outside. Everyone else had scattered to various safe houses, orders given to lie low until the situation stabilized. "What now?" I asked. Luca, propped up on the couch with enough painkillers to make him drowsy but still lucid, considered the question. "Now we wait for their move. They'll want revenge for their boss. But they're also in chaos, dealing with succession and reorganization. We have maybe 48 hours before they regroup. And then we finish this. One way or another." His eyes met mine. "I'm getting out, Olivia. After this ends, I'm done. I'll transition everything to Franco, cash out my legitimate holdings, and disappear. I told you I think about leaving constantly. Now I'm actually going to do it." Franco looked surprised, but not displeased. You're serious. Completely. I'm 34 years old, and I just took 2 bullets in a warehouse fight. I'm tired, Franco. Tired of violence. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of being this person. He reached for my hand. I want that normal life. The beach walks and terrible coffee and waking up without wondering if today's the day someone finally kills me. What about the organization? It's yours if you want it. You've earned it 100 times over. I'll help with the transition, make sure everyone's taken care of, but then I'm out. We sat in silence. The sound of waves crashing against the shore filtering through the windows. The weight of everything that had happened, everything still to come, pressed down on all of us. Later, when Franco had gone to coordinate with his men and we were alone, Luca pulled me down beside him on the couch. Are you sure about this? He asked. About me? About leaving everything behind? I've never been more sure of anything. I rested my head on his good shoulder. My whole life, I've done what was expected. Followed rules, pursued the right career, tried to be the daughter my parents would be proud of, but none of it felt like mine. It felt like wearing someone else's life. And this feels like yours? You feel like mine. I lifted my head to look at him. I don't know what comes next, or where we'll go, or how we'll build something new. But I know I want to try. With you. He kissed me softly. When this is over, we're going to walk on that beach I told you about. Just us, normal people, figuring out how to be together. I'm holding you to that. Outside, night had settled completely over the water. Inside, surrounded by guards and weapons, and the aftermath of violence, we held each other and pretended for a few hours that we were just 2 people falling in love, even though we both knew that the war wasn't over yet, that the Yamaguchi would come, that everything we wanted was still on the other side of survival. But for now, in this moment, we were alive, together, and that was enough. 3 months later, I stood in the kitchen of a modest beach house an hour north of the city, watching sunrise paint the Pacific Ocean in shades of amber and rose. The coffee maker gurgled beside me. Fancy Italian machine that Luca still couldn't operate despite my repeated attempts to teach him. So much had changed in 90 days. The war had ended 2 weeks after the warehouse ambush. The Yamaguchi's second in command, a pragmatist named Sato, had reached out through intermediaries. Both organizations were bleeding resources, losing people, attracting too much law enforcement attention. A territory split was negotiated. Luca kept his waterfront properties. They got shipping routes on the south side and 3 blocks of commercial real estate, an uneasy peace that had held because both sides were exhausted. True to his word, Luca had dismantled his empire with methodical precision. Franco took over day-to-day operations, slowly legitimizing what could be legitimized and cutting loose what couldn't. Luca sold off properties, transferred assets into trusts, set up pension funds for families who'd worked for his father. The transition took months of careful planning, but he'd done it. I'd submitted my resignation to the police department 6 weeks ago. Captain Reed had accepted it without surprise, her expression understanding when I met with her in a neutral location. We didn't discuss details. She didn't ask where I was going or who with. We both knew, and she'd chosen to let me walk away cleanly. No charges, no investigations into my actions during the Yamaguchi situation. A gift I hadn't expected but deeply appreciated. The Internal Affairs Review had concluded I'd acted appropriately given the circumstances. Self-defense against verified gang members. But everyone understood I couldn't return. Not after the choices I'd made. Not after crossing lines that couldn't be uncrossed. I'd processed the loss of my career in stages. Anger first, at the unfairness of it. Then grief for the life I'd planned, the future I'd imagined. Finally, acceptance. I'd chosen this path with open eyes. And while it hurt to leave police work behind, I didn't regret the reasons why. Luca had set me up as a security consultant for his legitimate businesses. The work was similar to police work in some ways, assessing threats, developing protocols, training personnel. It paid well and kept my skills sharp. More importantly, it was clean. Legal. Something I could build a real career around without compromising my values further. We'd bought this house together last month. Small, 3 bedrooms, built into the dunes with windows overlooking water. Private enough for safety, close enough to civilization that we didn't feel completely isolated. It was the first place that felt like ours. Not a safe house or temporary shelter, but an actual home. Footsteps behind me. Arms wrapped around my waist. Luca's chin resting on my shoulder. He'd healed well from his wounds. Scars remained. Thin lines across his ribs and shoulder, but no lasting damage. Franco had recovered too. Only a slight limp remaining on cold days. "You're up early," Luca murmured against my neck. Couldn't sleep. I leaned back into his warmth. Too much on my mind. "Want to talk about it?" I turned in his arms, nervous energy buzzing through me. I'd been holding this news for 2 days, waiting for the right moment. Sunrise in our kitchen felt right. "I have something to tell you." His expression shifted to concern. Should I be worried? No, but it's big. I took his hand, placed it on my stomach. "I'm pregnant." For 3 full seconds, he just stared at me. Then his face transformed into something I'd never seen before. Pure, uncomplicated joy mixed with wonder and a touch of fear. "You're sure?" Took 3 tests. All positive. I'm about 10 weeks along. I searched his face, trying to read his reaction beyond the initial surprise. "I know this isn't planned. We've only known each other 4 months. We're still figuring out how to be together, and everything's still uncertain." He kissed me, cutting off my nervous rambling. His hands cradled my face like I was something precious and fragile. When he pulled back, his eyes were suspiciously bright. "This is the best news you could have given me." Relief flooded through me so intensely my knees went weak. "Really? Because I spent the last 2 days convinced you'd think it was too soon, that we weren't ready." "It is too soon. We're absolutely not ready." He laughed, the sound full of genuine happiness. "But I don't care. A baby, Olivia. Our baby. This is everything I didn't know I wanted until right now." "You're not scared?" "Terrified," he admitted. "I have no idea how to be a father. My own died when I was 19, and before that he was teaching me how to run a criminal empire, not how to change diapers or go to parent-teacher conferences." His thumb brushed my cheekbone. "But I want this. Want to give our child the life I never had. Normal, safe, filled with choices instead of obligations." I pressed my forehead to his. "We're going to be terrible at this. Probably. But we'll be terrible together." He pulled back slightly. "Although we should probably get married before the baby comes. I'm traditional about some things. Did you just propose? That was definitely not a proper proposal." "I'll do better, I promise. With a ring and everything." He grinned. "But yes, eventually, I'm absolutely proposing. If you'll have me. Let me think about it." I pretended to consider. Reformed Mafia boss with terrible coffee skills and a tendency to solve problems with violence. What's not to love? "I'm working on the violence thing." "I know you are." I kissed him softly. "And yes, when you ask me properly, I'll say yes." We stood in our kitchen as morning light filled the space, holding each other. The future suddenly more real and tangible than it had been minutes before. Not the future I'd planned when I'd graduated from the police academy at 24, but maybe a better one. Franco arrived mid-morning for his weekly check-in. He'd been staying in the city, managing the transition while Luca and I built our new life at the beach. His leg had healed well, only bothering him when weather changed. He looked good, more relaxed than I'd ever seen him. "You both look disgustingly happy," he observed, accepting coffee from Luca. "What happened?" "We're having a baby," Luca announced, unable to contain his grin. Franco's eyebrows shot up. Then a slow smile spread across his usually serious face. "Congratulations, both of you. A baby. That's wonderful news. How are things in the city?" I asked, steering the conversation to business. "Stable. The Yamaguchi are keeping to their territory. We're keeping to ours. Most of our former operations are fully transitioned now. I've got legitimate business managers running the legal companies, and the less legal stuff is being phased out gradually." He pulled out a folder. "Which brings me to why I'm here. Final paperwork for you to sign, Luca. After this, you're officially out. Clean break." Luca took the folder, flipped through documents with practiced efficiency. "The pension arrangements for the families? All set. Everyone who worked for your father or directly for you gets monthly payments. Enough to live on comfortably, with increases built in for inflation. Franco sipped his coffee. You're leaving them better off than most bosses would. They were loyal for 2 decades, some of them for longer. It's the least I can do. Luca signed papers, passed them back. And you're sure you want to keep running things? I am, but I'm doing it differently. No unnecessary violence, no expansion wars, just managing existing interests and slowly going legitimate. Franco met Luca's eyes. You taught me there's a better way. I'm putting that into practice. After Franco left, Luca and I walked the beach. The same stretch he'd told me about that first night in his study, when everything was still new and dangerous. We'd walked it dozens of times now, but it never got old. Sand under our feet, salt air filling our lungs, waves providing constant background music. Do you miss it? I asked. The power, the respect, the adrenaline. He considered the question carefully. Sometimes I miss the certainty of it, knowing exactly who I was and what my role was. But no, I don't miss the violence or the constant vigilance or the weight of being responsible for so many lives. He squeezed my hand. This is better. This is real. Even the boring parts? Especially the boring parts. Grocery shopping and mortgage payments and trying to figure out why the dishwasher makes that weird noise. He pulled me closer. I spent 15 years living in high gear. I'm ready for mundane. We continued walking in comfortable silence. In the distance, a few other people walked dogs or jogged along the waterline. Normal people doing normal things. We were part of that now, or at least learning to be. I've been thinking about the baby, I said, about what kind of parents we want to be. And I want to be honest. Age appropriately, but honest. About who we were, what we did, why we made the choices we made. I watched a seagull dive for fish. I don't want to lie or pretend we were something we weren't. But I also want them to understand that people can change, that mistakes don't define you forever. That's fair. Luca was quiet for a moment. I want them to have choices I never had. To pursue whatever makes them happy, not what's expected or necessary. And I want them to be kind. That's more important than being powerful or successful, says the man who used to run a criminal empire. Exactly. I know what power costs. I'd rather our kid be a good person than a powerful one. We turned back toward the house. In a few hours, I had a doctor's appointment, the first official prenatal visit. Luca was coming with me, nervous and excited in equal measure. Normal couple things, except neither of us was particularly normal. That evening, we sat on our back deck watching sunset paint the sky. Luca had attempted dinner, pasta with sauce from a jar, basic but edible. We ate while stars appeared one by one overhead. I've been thinking about names, Luca said suddenly. It's a little early for that. I know. But if it's a boy, I'd like to name him after my father. Antonio. If you're okay with that. I thought about the man in old photos Luca had shown me. Serious face, kind eyes, dead because of the world he'd inhabited. I think that's beautiful. And if it's a girl, I was thinking about your mother. What was her name? Catherine. Catherine Ricchetti. He tested it out. I like it. We're not married yet. Might be Catherine Morgan Ricchetti. I smiled. Or something else entirely. We have 7 months to decide. 7 months. He pulled me against him. This time last year, I was planning territorial expansions and managing conflicts with 3 different organizations. If someone had told me that 12 months later I'd be sitting on a deck with a pregnant cop planning baby names, I would have thought they were insane. Life's funny that way. It is. He pressed a kiss to my temple. But I wouldn't change any of it. Not the traffic stop, not the warehouse fight, not the impossible choices. All of it led here, and here is exactly where I want to be. Later, lying in bed in our little house by the sea, I thought about the path that had brought us to this moment. From that highway at 2 a.m. to here. Every decision, every risk, every line crossed. None of it had been easy. Most of it had been terrifying. But Luca was right. This was exactly where I wanted to be. His arm tightened around me. What are you thinking about? How I arrested you 4 months ago and now we're having a baby. When you put it that way, it sounds completely insane. It is completely insane. I tilted my head to look at him, but it's our insane, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. He kissed me, slow and deep, and I tasted our future in it. Not perfect, not uncomplicated, but real and ours, and built on a foundation of choices we'd both made with open eyes. Outside, waves crashed against the shore in eternal rhythm. Inside, we held each other and dreamed about the life we were building, the baby who would arrive in 7 months, the wedding we'd plan eventually, the normal, boring, beautiful existence we'd fought so hard to claim. Morning would bring new challenges. Luca's coffee would still be terrible. I'd probably overcook breakfast while trying to read pregnancy books simultaneously. We'd argue about furniture for the nursery and whether we needed to move somewhere with better schools eventually. But tonight, in this moment, everything was perfect. And that was enough.